الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وبعد. Inshallah, in the next few minutes that we have before the Jumu'ah Salah, I'd like to discuss about something which is relevant to the current couple of weeks that we're going to go through. Many of us from work, we're looking forward to a long weekend away. Many students in education are looking forward to a break, a December break. But something very relevant that I think for us as parents, as fathers, as mothers, and even as children, is to know and understand about our beliefs in regards to the upcoming festivals as Muslims. And the reason this is important, and I emphasize firstly on the parents, is because perhaps you may not be aware, and if you are, then it's important that you play an active role in this, is that your child is being taught specific beliefs and teachings within schools, right, regarding Jesus. And whether we like it or not, it's something in most cases which is mandatory based on the syllabus that is put forward by the educational bodies. But our role as parents and as adults when it comes to this is to then also inform our children, and as educators, our students in maktab, in makatib, etc., of the correct beliefs regarding Isa alayhi salam. And therefore, inshallah, in the next few minutes that I have, I want to just briefly present, to go through the whole story of Isa alayhi salam and Maryam alayhi salam and so on, would require an hour, 2-hour lecture and a seminar in of itself. But what I want to do here is just give you brief pointers, the core beliefs that we need to know, and also some lessons that we have and that we can benefit from the story of Isa alayhi salam. So firstly, with regards to Isa alayhi salam, a very fundamental belief that we must all know is that he was born without a father. So the mother, who was the mother of Isa alayhi salam? Maryam alayhi salam, right? The mother was Maryam alayhi salam, and she gave birth to Isa alayhi salam without a father. And this was a miracle and the doing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whenever something like this extraordinary happens, and this was something that Allah had given to all the messengers. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given a selection of miracles that he could perform. And this wasn't from his own doing, right? This was doing bi'idhnillah, with the permission of Allah. So there were a number of miracles that Isa alayhi salam was bestowed also, and from those was the first being that he was born without a father. The second is also another miracle of his, that he spoke whilst he was a child. And again, the reason and the objective, or the person, the maqsad, the maqasid of miracles performed by Anbiya is to establish their authority as prophets. So the Prophet ﷺ was able to do miracles in the presence of those around him. Why? So that they could see these miracles and believe in him. Similarly, and these miracles and these doings that they were able to do, these extraordinary actions that they were able to carry out with the permission of Allah, were based on their time, the need of their time. So for example, in the time of Musa alayhi salam, magic and so on was something of a very popular nature. And therefore, what was the miracle of Musa alayhi salam? Related to magic, where he was brought into a combat between magicians, the greatest magicians of that time, organized by Pharaoh and Musa alayhi salam, who then had to battle it out with the magic, where of course Musa alayhi salam wasn't a magician, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his doing made it such where his staff was able to convert and be made into a snake, a serpent, etc. And the story goes on. Similarly, when it came to Isa alayhi salam, this was an era of curing, of medicine, etc. So a lot of his miracles revolve around this. He was able to, and we believe, and this is important to believe, that he was able to cure the leper. He was able to restore the eyesight of the blind, and so on. And these were all things that he was enabled, he was allowed to do with the permission of Allah to prove his authority as a prophet. And so he was able to speak as a child. And moving forward, a very fundamental belief, which is different to other religions, is that Isa alayhi salam, as we believe, he was not crucified, nor was he killed. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. He was not killed, nor was he crucified. وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. Rather, when they intended to kill Isa alayhi salam, and they plotted against him, and they entered his premises, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused Isa alayhi salam to be raised up to the heavens. And then one of the individuals that entered was made to resemble Isa alayhi salam, and then they killed him and they crucified him. This is our aqidah. And this is, again, I emphasize, the reason, we often discuss and we give a lot of importance to, and in my previous khutbah I went and I discussed about tahara, about wudu, about ghusl, etc., which is equally important to be able to fulfill our fara'id. But then when it comes to aqidah, it is equally important as well, because the absence of these beliefs, if we do not believe in these things which are unanimously agreed, which have a consensus amongst the ulama, we fall very easily out of the fold of Islam. So these beliefs, again, like for example, the belief that we have that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the last prophet. If someone doesn't believe that, then he falls outside of the fold of Islam, because this is something which is categorically stated within the Quran. And similarly with regards to Isa alayhi salam, that we have a categorical ayah which emphasizes and which showcases that he was not killed, nor was he crucified. Rather, he was taken up. And the belief that he will return closer to the day of Qiyamah. One of the signs of Qiyamah is the return of Isa alayhi salam. But will he return as a prophet or as a messenger? No. Isa alayhi salam will return as a follower, as an ummati of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when he returns, he will not come with his own sharia or his own book. He was given a book in his time called the Injil. But when he returns, he will not preach the Injil. He will carry forward the message of the Quran. So these are our fundamental beliefs, and I want to reiterate them so that we can know and instill them within our lives. And when we speak to our children, and I want all the parents to do this in the next couple of weeks, in the next few days, that go home and speak to your children. Ask them, who was Isa alayhi salam? I did this with my students at Maktab, right? I went into a class randomly and I asked them, why are we looking forward to our holidays? What are we studying in school? And they started telling me about Jesus and the plays that they've been doing and the cards that they've been making, and then the beliefs that they've been taught, right? Then I asked them, okay, on a separate note, how many of us know about Isa alayhi salam, right? And then there were a few students that told me a couple of things, right? But in a majority, many students and many youngsters do not know this. And especially as parents, we need to play an important role to educate our children in regards to this. Moving forward, inshallah, in the few minutes that we have, I want to go through a couple of lessons that we learn from the story of Isa alayhi salam. The first is his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being one of servitude. In the Quran he says, قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ أَتَانِيَ الْكِتَابِ وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. Imagine, there is a man, there is a prophet who has been given the highest status amongst all those that exist on earth at that moment and time. He's been made the Nabi, the prophet, but he describes himself as Abdullah. We are all the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are all ibadullah. But the connotation, the negative connotation that the term slave and servant has is so bad that we often look down upon it. Rather, it's something to be praiseworthy, that we are the abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constitute? That irrespective of anything else. When we have a hukam of Allah, when we have a command of Allah, when we have a message that we receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we accept it wholeheartedly and we carry forward with it. Another lesson that we learn from the story of Isa alayhi salam is that belief is not sufficient. Just to believe in something is not sufficient. Rather, it needs to be coupled with action. And Isa alayhi salam says, وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا. He commanded me to pray salah and to give zakah for as long as I'm alive. Imagine Isa alayhi salam, again I emphasize, he was the messenger, the Rasul at that time. Right? He was given the book. Yet that is not sufficient for him for entry and acceptance in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That needs to be coupled with salah and with zakah. And this is why even when it comes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find that he was not exempt from these things. And therefore, for us, this notion and this ideology that's often pushed today is, I have Allah in my heart, I believe, and that's it. I don't need to, salah 5 times a day. I don't do it, but I believe in Allah. Allah's in my heart. He's always there. MashaAllah, it's good that you believe in Allah and that you have that connection with Allah, but it needs to be coupled with fulfilling the commandments that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. And therefore, it is not sufficient to just simply believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, my dear respected brothers, these were a few words that I wanted to share in relation to Isa alayhi salam, given the recent festivals and kind of times that we will go through in the next couple of weeks. MashaAllah. I pray that it's been beneficial, and again I emphasize for parents, for educators and for adults to take this message forward and to learn about Isa alayhi salam and to sit down with our children and to speak about him with them bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Sheikh Muhammad Lokat, he has asked me to make 2 announcements. Firstly is that he wasn't able to be here today because he's on his way to London to attend a janazah of his auntie. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant her the highest ranks in Jannatul Firdaus. Secondly, there is a food bank, a food drive this weekend at the Peace Center. Firstly, the center is looking forward for volunteers to come forward and make themselves available for the cause. You can contact Sheikh Muhammad Loka directly, or there are volunteers already that are here, and brothers that will, you can address inshallah after Jumu'ah. And inshallah they'll be accepting various different items to pass on and benefit the community through. There are leaflets that will be distributed after Jumu'ah. Please take them and share the word bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakallahu khairan. If I can just request for brothers to fill the gaps in. There are a number of brothers. Yeah, the first of you can move forward.
As-Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm sure you've seen a message going around regarding the fundraiser, especially the Mount Snowdon fundraiser. Myself included and 6 brothers will be going to Mount Snowdon next week, Thursday, 22nd of December. The intention of raising funds for our masjid. Currently, masjid is in need of funds. Inshallah, I'll be standing outside. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. You make donation by cash or card, or there's a link online where you can share with your families and friends. So, Jazakallah khair. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد